Hi everyone, it's Anne here from English Valley Cafe. I am super excited to share today's video with you. I think you're going to love it. It's a video full of real English conversation. I had a fabulous time chatting with a lovely couple from the UK, Michael and Molly. They are both language teachers and also language learners. Michael is an online English teacher and Molly is a Chinese language teacher. And in this conversation, you're going to hear us talk about cultural differences, language learning, language teaching, and a whole lot more. And you'll also get to know Michael and Molly better. As you watch this video and listen to the conversation, you will see text or words that'll appear. I have included some useful vocabulary and English phrases. So this is a good opportunity to learn some new words and context and to practice your listening skills as well. Well, first of all, congratulations on getting married.
Yay.
You guys got married last month. Oh no, it's this month.
Yeah, the beginning of this month. Yeah.
Did you guys have a big wedding or was it a small, intimate one due to COVID?
It's a small one. It's sort of a very private one. My family are all in China, so my friend and his family come. Because of that, we didn't want to invite too many people, so it was just 8 people or so that came. Do something else in China at some point, like a second event.
Since it was a small wedding, I assume it didn't take up too much planning time?
No, it didn't take up lots of time. We booked a venue a few months in ahead, but that's all. It really took no planning at all, and even like on the way to the venue, I was like looking on Google Maps, like, is that really the right place? I didn't even know where we were going.
Oh, okay. Was it at a countryside, like it was somewhere in the suburb? Was it in London or?
No, we didn't choose London. Michael's family are all in Southwest England. Decided to go all the way back to Southwest. Because my grandma would never ever go to London because it's too much of a big city for her. Yeah. So we just did it down like where I was born, basically.
Do you guys feel different after getting married?
Make much difference for me. I feel like just have little ring finger and that's all.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel any different really.
Yeah,
I think the ring is the biggest difference, just always playing with it now. But in terms of like the relationship, it feels the same.
How did you guys meet?
We have our first days in Totnes, isn't it? Totnes, which is, well, no one knows what that is. It's a small town in Devon. Yeah, and I think we met like quite soon after you got here, right? A few months after I came to Southwest, yes. And then how many days did they take us to get together? 3 or 4 days? A few days. We have a few days and then we have quite a lot of texting. And then who said it first? It's definitely you, isn't it? I have no memory. I don't know. It's definitely you.
So Michael, you were there because of just travel or?
I think I was just living there. I was living there probably working. I think I was just starting teaching at the time. Maybe I'd been teaching for a year or so. But yeah, I was just living down there on my own and then met Molly at the right time. And I think we had a really good first date, didn't we? Like we had a lot of fun. A bit awkward, but quite fun.
Oh. Did you guys just hit it off like the first time that you guys met?
I think so. Yeah, I think we did. I think you definitely did on me. Yeah, because we were talking, because we spent the first date, what was it, like a whole day, like 8 hours or something? Day, yeah. So it was a really long day for the first time we met. So yeah, I think that was a good sign for me.
Do you experience any difficulties with communication because of different values or different cultural background and cultural differences?
That's interesting. I feel like Molly is quite, she doesn't seem like what I would say is like typical or maybe stereotypical Chinese person. So I feel like there wasn't that much I had to get used to. And maybe just occasionally some unusual food that smelt a bit strange for me. Just for him. Yeah.
Was it Chinese food or?
No, because he's vegan and then sometimes I'll cook fish. Did you find it weird, like the culture difference or anything? Not much difference. Wow.
Michael was very much like a gentleman when I first met him. So yeah, it was very nice date with quite a nice date when we first got together. So he was very gentle, very nice, very polite as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then later on we just exposed the real personality.
Michael was saying how, you know, you're not the typical Chinese, but did you already get exposed to like English and you learned English when you were in China? Were you interested? Because I know you said you came to the UK by accident, right? Because of you were selected. So prior to this, like, were you into like the British culture?
I did choose to come to UK because I was selected by the organization to come to teach Chinese here. I could have other choices like America or somewhere else in Europe, but because I loved British TV series like Sherlock Holmes and all kind of British TV show, and I just decided to come to UK. I quite like British culture before I came here, and of course, it will be a totally different story if I did not choose to come to this country. If I did not choose to sign up for that program, I quite like it. I wouldn't say I exposed myself a lot to British culture before I came here because all I knew is from the TV series. And I was in a very typical Chinese school when I was in China. All we did in English lesson is go through the vocabs, go through the grammar, do exam paper. That's it. I barely talk to people in English.
Her English was very good though.
You think so?
Yeah, it's not very good news for my Chinese practice.
Yeah, because when I was watching the interview, I was like, "Oh, because you said you've been in the UK for 5 years."
Yeah, that was the outcome after 5 years practice. I don't think my English was that good when I first came here.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, well, but that's still really good within 5 years.
A few examples with language misunderstandings, because I think the thing about English is like you can learn all the words, but there's like really subtle differences in meaning that it's quite hard to get. So one example is, I think Molly has learned now, but I feel like at the beginning was hard with the word silly.
Oh yeah, I still get mad at it.
Because I think it's really common for couples in English to call each other silly. Like, don't be silly, or hey silly, how are you? I think it's like a cute name. I hear a lot of couples doing that. But Molly understands that to mean like stupid, or she did understand it to mean stupid. So when I was like, don't be silly, she thought I was calling her stupid, which is a much stronger word, right?
I got offended.
So she got quite mad at one point, and I had to explain, yeah, that's not what I mean.
Okay. Actually, Michael, I know you're learning Chinese and Japanese.
Trying to, yeah.
But at the time when you guys met, were you already learning Chinese?
Yeah, that came after. Yeah, I didn't really have any knowledge before I met.
Okay. So I'm thinking the word silly, because Molly, what would that be in Chinese? Is that like, how do you say, 傻瓜?
傻,
like,
傻瓜.
Okay.
It doesn't sound very nice to me. Even
I think it's
cute.
Yeah, I think it's that connotation that we attach to, we associate.
Convince me it's a cute word, but because I ask my students a lot. I ask them stop being silly in a serious way. So I'm trying to reflect on myself, which is maybe I should pick a more serious word, not silly.
It's not strong enough.
No, maybe stop being stupid, but
I think that's too strong.
That was a bit too strong.
Maybe,
yeah.
So I can't think of a better word. Maybe.
And that's a good example of the difference in the meaning of a word.
I think we're quite like-minded. I don't think there's like too many differences we have in like beliefs or anything like that, really.
The thing is, I value family a lot. Sometimes Michael will feel like, well, why do you have to always chat with your mom and dad? Sometimes when we are having a day out and my parents send me some messages, I will reply to them straight away, and Michael will feel a bit offended.
That's a
That
good
is the
point.
thing that we have argument quite a lot.
Yeah, because I think there's that cultural difference. Again, generally, everyone's different, but generally, you know, people in China and maybe Asia are very close to their family, right? I think in England, people, you know, it's not that people are not close, but it's not that kind of, you know, many people will put friends before family, which I feel like is less common in China, maybe.
Oh, I won't do that. I just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like here it's quite normal to see your family just a couple times a year, whereas for Molly it's like every day calling, and that I think that was hard for me to understand at first.
I think just you.
Interesting. Okay, so in the UK, people would put friends before family.
No, just Michael.
No, hey, not necessarily, but I think it's more likely to happen here. But definitely there's that culture of like in the UK, of course, we generally, when you get elderly parents, they go into like a care home, right? Rather than living in your home. Whereas Molly, you probably want them in your home, wouldn't you?
No, that's not going to happen in my family. We think it's a huge insult.
Oh yeah.
Of course, they are happy that I get married, and my family still can't have some direct conversation with Michael because my family, especially my parents, they are about 55 or something, and they don't speak English at all. So that's why Michael is learning English, because
Chinese.
It's quite unusual to see in China that your son-in-law cannot communicate with you at all.
Also, they really speak Cantonese more than Mandarin, don't they?
No, they speak both. My dad speak Cantonese, my mom speak Hakka, so but they can all speak Mandarin.
Well, when I asked their permission to marry Molly, but I had to do it on WeChat, on like texting. I did like a video that I sent to them. Molly had to help me write the message in kind of the sounds in Cantonese, and I had to just kind of like try to pronounce how it sounded, but I had no idea what I was saying really. So it was a bit confusing.
So Molly, when you told your parents that you're dating Michael, what did they think?
Mom always said what she used to say, not now. Don't be sad. She used to said it would be better if you are having a partner closer to home, because they would like me to be with them, because I had my education in a boarding school when I was very young in primary school, so we didn't really have much time together with my parents. So they're always thinking, well, maybe when you get older you can get back to us and then we can have more family time, just go further and further. But they're all right with that. It's not their choice, it's my choice.
Exactly.
And they know they can't control on me, so they're okay. They just sort of give up. It's my parents are a little bit, especially my mom was a little bit like typical Asian parents, who like taking control of their child, but she just learned to give up.
I can relate to that. Like I struggle with that because, you know, because I grew up in the US, so it's like a lot of my thinking, my values are kind of like the I don't want to say like 100% American values, but it just, there's that clash. Like it's just hard to communicate with them, and sometimes it's just hard for me to express myself in Chinese, because I feel like I'm not getting that meaning across if I speak it, and if I say it in Chinese, I need to say it in English, but then when I say in English they don't understand. So
it was funny because I actually have one student who is also from US. He is learning Chinese from me. He's American born Chinese as well. He's going to learn about how to argue with his parents in Chinese in a respectful way. His main purpose of learning Chinese.
Well, that motivates them. That's a good reason. Well, I have some personal questions, not too personal, that I like to ask you guys so that we can get to know you a little bit more. My first question is, who is a better cook?
Oh, that's going to cause argument.
I would have said me.
Me.
I think I'm more experimental, which means that a lot of meals I have end up failing. Molly's very good, but she doesn't have much variety. That's what I would say.
I like my food better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I rarely dislike your food, but it's
Yeah.
usually very similar.
But you still like it. I try different things. I just didn't have time to really do some research on the recipe. We cook for each other 2 or 3 times a week.
Well, we cook for each other we cook together like 5 times a week, don't we? In total.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we're very regimented. So we always have the same days where like I cook for Molly and then Molly cooks for me. So we have like the same days each week. So we're very planned out and it's very good. But yeah, we're not really the kind of couple to have takeout. So it's always cooking and preparing things at home. Yeah.
What would you say is Molly's favorite food?
That's a good. Probably I might be getting it wrong because I'm on the spot here, but probably like noodles. A more general term.
I do like
because you have noodles like every day. Am I right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't really have favorites. As long as it tastes nice, I like it.
Do you prefer rice? I mean, noodles over rice?
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I just don't eat either of them.
And then Molly, what would you think is Michael's favorite food?
The food I cook, I think. Apart from that, also beans on toast.
Very British, very
Yep.
nostalgic one, beans on toast, because I had it when I was a kid. But I think my favorite is just soup and bread. Really simple.
It's a quick one. Like if you want a quick meal, soup and bread will do it.
It's just good food. I feel like when it's cold, you have like a nice bowl of soup. It's
Yeah.
nice, it's comfortable, comforting.
Yeah. I think Asians care a lot about food. Like food is life.
Of course.
Yeah.
I spent hours in kitchen.
Right,
And then he
right.
was like, what's the point?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's another probably cultural
Cultural difference. You do show more understanding of it after you travel to Asia.
Well, yeah, I didn't used to like food. I used to be the kind of person I'd rather take a pill than eat food if there was one. But I think since I went to Asia, like Japan and Thailand, I got more appreciation for food.
England, or let's say UK, I'm no offense, but UK is not the best place for nice food. So why he doesn't have that kind of culture when he was younger.
But London is a little bit different, right? Because it's like a melting pot, so you get like different cuisines.
Well, none of the nice restaurants are English restaurants.
Well,
They're
yeah,
all like Chinese restaurant, Japanese restaurant, like Italian restaurant.
England hasn't really developed its own cuisine, really.
No.
Like we've got a lot of foods, but they're kind of old-fashioned, and many people don't eat them anymore because they're a bit disgusting. So I think we've adopted all these other cuisines from around the world. So I disagree. I think England's a really good place for food, but it's just not English food, just international foods.
Ask Chinese people, ask French people, they all disagree with that.
Yeah, I think when you guys say that, I think it's the same for the US as well. I feel like there are some classics, but then I think a lot of them are like a mix of cuisines from around the world. So I can relate to
Yeah, I heard someone say before, like when they were asked what's their favorite American food, they said, be like Mexican food.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say pizza or burger.
Yeah.
Is it hard to cook Chinese vegan food?
It's harder to look for the protein. So the main protein I use when I'm cooking Chinese vegan food is tofu. What else? I think that's it.
Well, where are we going on Saturday?
Oh yeah, we're going to a Chinese vegan restaurant on Saturday called Tofu.
So excited. It's all Chinese food, but it's all vegan. I'll be able to answer your question better maybe next week.
Very much looking forward to it.
My next question is, Molly, what is Michael's pet peeve? Pet peeve is like something that annoys him, like little things.
Have many.
I can give a long list.
Like the one thing that annoys me most.
Noises, all kinds of different noises. People eating, people chewing, and the forks and knives with the plate, all kinds of noises will annoy him.
I've been begging Molly to get bamboo cutlery, like I guess you would call it silverware, maybe, like knife and fork. I've got like a bamboo one that makes no noise when you eat. He uses like metal ones, which are really loud, which annoy me. Very
Yeah.
sensitive to noise, but there's some specific ones that really annoy me, especially around eating. As you might have heard today, some neighbors doing construction, stuff like that. I find very hard to ignore.
And Michael, what would you say is Molly's pet peeve?
Molly's very good and not that fussy. Pet peeve of Molly's. Maybe there's no pet peeve. Do you have one?
No.
Oh.
No. I think that will really annoy me is people interrupt me when I was sleeping.
So what about my alarm at 6 in the
Yes,
morning?
I get annoyed with that every day. No, I do think I'm very easygoing. I deal with children. I have to be calm.
Definitely. Yeah, my other question is, what is one special thing that you've done for each other?
Getting married is the most special thing we have done for each other because I've never thought that I'm going to get married one.
I think it's little stuff as well, like snacks that Molly often buys me, like snacks that I like when I don't ask for them, which is nice.
We change ourselves quite a lot for each other. We change our habits a bit.
Yeah. We make it easier to live together. Yeah, I try to be a little bit less crazy about being tidy, and Molly tries to be tidier.
Yeah.
I can't think of any big things for now, though. It's just like little things that like do.
Yeah, because before I had a partner, I mean a long-term relationship, I've never thought about I'm going to change my personality, I'm going to change my habit for my partner. But after we've been together for so long, things would just change in a silent way. I didn't realize that. I went out with my friends for meal. We were in a training. So it's like a conference. So we stay in a hotel. And in the morning we have some buffet, and my friend just said to me, "Your eating habits, is getting more and more like Michael's one because I didn't pick any meat or eggs. I just have mushrooms, potatoes, those kind of vegan things. I didn't realize that until my friend told me. And my diet changed because of that.
Michael, how long have you been a vegan?
Before I met you.
Yeah, maybe it's something like or coming up to 10 years, something like that. I don't quite remember.
Okay.
Yeah, at least vegetarian that long anyway.
Okay. I was a vegetarian, and then during the pandemic, I think it was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I went back to eating meat. So
Very naughty.
people who are close to me who knew that I was a vegetarian for a long time, and then when I told them that I was eating meat, they're like, how can you do that? It was
interesting.
a slow change, and I did it because of health reason, but that's arguable. But yeah, so I know the difficulties of like when you go out to eat, sometimes it's hard to, well, maybe not in London, but sometimes when you're traveling, it's just hard to find vegan options.
If you can do some research, or you're happy to do some cooking at your Airbnb, I think it's okay. You don't have many restaurants, but I don't mind cooking myself,
I think now with Airbnb, it's easier to, you can bring your own food and stuff and just cook.
To Bosnia before in April, and Bosnian food is quite meaty, isn't it?
Yeah, they love their meat in Eastern Europe, but even there's still vegan restaurants. Went to some really nice ones, right?
There's only a few of them, so we went to one restaurant for at least 5 times. It was the only restaurant which we are very happy with, but also they provide vegan food.
Oh, Bosnia. Okay, I've never even been to Bosnia. I've never been to London. So
never been to London?
I've never been to London.
Oh, you have to.
One day.
Have you guys been to the US before?
He is going.
I'm planning to this year.
Oh, you are?
But yeah, it'll be my first time, so I'm really excited.
Which states are you visiting?
It's the complete opposite corner of the country to you. I'm going to
New York.
Boston.
Okay.
And maybe New York, maybe other places, depending on how I'm feeling.
Not California.
maybe another time.
I feel like California might be Why similar to London? I've watched a few of your videos, like when the outdoor videos, and I feel, and then the way you guys described it in the interview video, I feel like it might be a little bit similar because it's just melting pot.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think my main issue with maybe more Western states, from what I've heard, is it's much harder to get around unless you have a car.
Yes.
And I don't want to drive in America, and I also don't want to keep getting Ubers all the time.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe I'll start on the East Coast, and then I can explore a bit more in the future. That's my plan anyway.
I'd like to shift the topic now and talk a little bit about language learning and teaching, since we're all teachers and we're learning languages as well. So Molly, you've had to learn English, and now you're a Chinese teacher in a secondary school. Has your experiences in learning English help you as a language teacher, as a Chinese teacher now?
Yeah, definitely. My experience of learning English helps me a lot. But honestly, I used to hate learning English when I was younger, when I was a teenager. I just didn't like what my teachers taught me when I was in the secondary school. All we did is vocabs, grammar, exams. We barely did some speaking practice. So I always think that I was very bad in speaking English before I came to the UK. So because now I'm a languages teacher, I try to get my student engaged as much as possible. I also embed some cultural things in my lesson just to motivate them. So I do think I am doing quite well, and most of my students do like my subject. They do like Chinese, or at least they are not against me. They're not against my lesson, which is, I think, which is very good for British schools, because most of the teenagers are grumpy. At least they are with me when we're doing some learning. So I'm quite happy with that. If I could go back to younger time when I was in school, I probably just expose myself to a bit more like cultural things, British culture things, expose myself to more TV series instead of just going through the textbook.
Yeah, so that was actually my other question to you is a lot of, I think, like young learners or teenagers who are learning English now, they don't find a purpose. Mostly it's school, they have that curriculum, or because the parents want them to learn English. So what would you say to those people who, are lacking that motivation, the young learners or the young adult learners? Like, what would you have done, wish that you had done?
For teenagers, for the younger learners, I don't think as an outsider, we can say we can push them to learn. We can only encourage them to learn, but we can't make them learn. So I think it's more about how their teachers motivate them and how their parents motivate them in a right way, of course. I think at this stage, children or teenagers, they pick the subject, or they like the subject mainly based on their teachers, or based on their parents. For example, I have some students who used to hate Mandarin because they didn't get a chance to choose it. It just their parents make the choice for them. But sometimes we did some film project. We watched the film in Mandarin, and we did some school trip. We went to Chinatown, and we were doing another trip to Singapore. And they just gradually feel, oh, I can actually make some progress in Mandarin, and I like phrasing students in public as well as calling parents. And they realize that if I work hard, I mean, if they work hard, they can get a good outcome. And I just carry on reinforcing the good outcome they have made. I carry on phrasing their effort instead of just academic outcome. Praising praising their effort and outcome in public. So I do feel like the year group I've been working longer with, they have a deeper connection with me and they are better in Mandarin. So I think it's about the relationship between the teacher and students.
Yes.
I do think at this stage, because when I was a teenager, I like my teacher better than the subject because I didn't really have the independence or the what do you call it, identity to
Mhm.
really understand what I like. I
Mm.
chose the things based on the people, based on the teacher.
Mhm.
So
It's
it's
true.
mainly about how teachers, how parents motivate them. So I think the question can be, how do you motivate your children to like this subject?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
young
I
people
agree.
I don't think they really have the independence and identity to discover what they really like. They are still
Right,
on the way of
right.
discovering who they are and what they like.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Because I think a lot of the young ones that I work with, they're discouraged or they're not motivated because
Mm,
of the way the teachers taught English, or they were really mean, or they did, they were very strict, and I think in a bad way. And I think that really affects their motivation and their desire to learn. And especially, it's a language that they don't even know what they're going to use English for. They don't see purpose, so it makes it difficult. Yeah.
yeah, that was quite sad at this stage. I do think teachers have a huge impact on students. If the teacher is demotivating, then sorry, he might be done. His
Right,
learning journey might be just finished.
right.
But I was very lucky because I picked up English when I was in university. I hate English
Mm,
when I was younger,
mhm.
but I was still quite good at it. I was good at exams.
Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
was a hardworking student, so I was good at exam, but I hate the language. But I
Mm-hmm.
started to watch some British TV series, and then I developed my love of
For
not
it.
love, maybe the interest.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So that's why I pick up English a bit faster than when I was little.
I see. Oh, okay. So you found your way to keep yourself interested in to practice. And then Michael, I wanted to ask you because I think now that you're learning Japanese and Chinese, um, has that helped you in any way when you're teaching English? And then there was one video that you put out that I really liked, and it resonated with me. I think you were talking about how to enjoy the process rather than focusing on that end result. And I think you made an analogy about playing, I forgot what it was, playing video games or something. So I was
Oh yeah.
talking a little bit more about that aspect of learning.
Yeah, I love that video game analogy. I think it's very relatable for anyone who's played a game where you're so
Uh,
excited to get to the end, but then when you get to the end, you realize the fun was the journey of playing. It wasn't the end of the game. And I
yeah.
think it's the same with languages, isn't it? You don't try really hard to get to the end, partly
Mhm,
because there isn't really an end. That's one big reason. But yeah, I think it's really had a big impact on my teaching, especially my podcast as well, and like the
mhm,
content I make online.
mhm,
Basically, everything in almost everything I talk about on like social media and the podcast is kind of what I've come to realize through my own learning, and I try
mhm,
to kind of apply it back to English.
mhm, mhm.
Because sometimes they're not going to be applicable. Like something for Japanese won't really match over for English, but usually they're the same kind of concept for language learning in general. So
Right.
then I think I get a lot of good ideas. Well, I think they're good ideas. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I feel like I get some good ideas that way.
Mhm,
And I think the main thing is it gives any teacher some more empathy and understanding for their
mhm,
students.
mhm,
It might be a bit controversial, but I feel like unless you've had some experience learning a second language, I feel like you can't be as good uh, as good of a teacher as people who have.
mhm,
Not to
mhm.
say you can't be a good teacher, but I think learning that second language can give you a boost, because you just
Mhm.
get that understanding of what it's like to be in that position, the frustration, the feeling of being stuck, maybe that intermediate level or something like that, for example. Yeah, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think once you've been through that, even if it's a different language, you kind of understand what the learners go through, and feeling of not understanding when someone speaks, or having to learn a new word that you completely don't know what it is, and that process. If you don't go through it, I think it would just be like like all talk or philosophy or just concepts. But if you actually go through it yourself, it just makes your teaching more, I guess, more believable or more.
Yeah. When I first started teaching, it was they do a lot of work on their own as well, like through whatever they do in their spare time. Because I guess that's another thing I've got from my own language learning is it's not just about dumping information into your head. It's about you need to have that support and motivation to learn, maybe from a teacher or someone else. Otherwise, you just can't progress, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm share my language learning journey with my students too, even they are still young, but they also found quite amazed because I told them that I didn't like the language. I wasn't the best one in the class, but I was probably the only one who ended up working and living in an English speaking country. And they got quite inspired because they just started to learn a brand new language, which is totally different from English. They got the idea that if I can make it, then they can make it too.
Right.
So I do like your idea, which is like sharing your frustration, sharing your journey with the students.
As teachers, I think we're also learning and we're growing, and as we do, we're able to better help the students and help other English learners or other language learners.
Teacher and student learn together, don't they?
That's right. Where can people find you if they like to learn more about your work and connect with you?
My main passion is the podcast, which is the Level Up English podcast. That's the main thing. And pretty much my other stuff kind of supports that. So like Instagram is where I'm quite active, and that's just kind of mostly reflection and like reposts of my podcast. I've got a YouTube channel where I walk around London or do other stuff and teach English there. But yeah, really it's podcast and YouTube. That's the two biggest things where I hope people can go. Our website is levelupenglish.school, and people who listen to the podcast can join the community. They can get access to loads of bonus courses, podcast transcripts, private videos, and group classes as well. So that's all part of that membership there. So it's a little bit different than it used to be, but it's all connected now.
Okay. So you kind of bundle it up into one.
Yeah, I tried to make it a bit simpler. Yeah.
Okay. And Molly, do you have any social media pages?
Chinese learning podcast as well, and the website. The podcast is called MaoMi Chinese, and the website very simple, maomichinese.com. I'm trying to squeeze some time in my personal life because I was very busy working full-time in the school. So I'm going to create more learning resources, and they will be posted on the website.
Weekly podcast in Mandarin, I guess, for like intermediate learners.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's useful for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
Okay.
I think I should check it out too. I might benefit from it as well. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Shout out to Michael and Molly. Thank you guys once again. I've shared their websites and where to connect with them below. I really encourage you to check out their websites and listen to their podcasts. Also, Michael has a YouTube channel where he walks around London and teaches you English through those videos. So if you're learning Chinese or if you're learning English, be sure to check out their websites and go show them some support for helping me with this video. They have some amazing content, so make sure you check them out. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you in the next video.